3 minutes left, and someone you love in heaven is asking you to listen. Imagine this. You're sitting alone in a quiet room, the hum of the world muted for a moment, when suddenly, without warning, you feel it. An overwhelming stillness, the kind that makes your chest heavy and your thoughts turn inward. You look at the clock. 3 minutes until something. You don't know what, but you feel in your bones. And then you hear it. Not with your ears, but with that strange, inexplicable sense we only notice in rare moments. A voice. Familiar. Comforting. A voice you thought you'd never hear again. Someone you love, someone who has been gone for years, is speaking to you from beyond. They're not here to scare you. They're here to warn you, to remind you, to beg you to remember something you've forgotten. And this is where your heart starts to race. Because deep down, you know exactly what they're talking about. You know the thing you've been avoiding. You know the truth you've been refusing to face. We all have it, that quiet truth in the background of our lives. It's like an unopened letter that sits on the table for months, maybe years. You know it's for you, and you know what's inside will change you, but you don't open it because you're afraid. Afraid of what it will ask from you. Afraid that if you face it, you'll have to change. The voice, their voice, cuts through the fog. They say, you don't have as much time as you think. Not in a doom and gloom way. Not in a repent or else way. But in the painfully honest way that only someone who loves you enough to tell the truth can speak. And here's the thing. You know they're right. Philosopher Seneca once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." We always imagine life as a wide horizon, stretching endlessly into the distance. We act as though our years are stored up like gold coins in a vault, waiting for us to spend whenever we wish. But time is not stored. It's spent instantly the moment it arrives. And no one tells you how quickly it runs out until you feel the shadow of the clock pressing against your chest. 3 minutes. That's all it takes for your mind to wander into the deepest corridors of regret. Not the surface level, "I wish I had traveled more" kind of regret. The deeper one, the regret of knowing that you have lived so much of your life as if it were a rehearsal, waiting for the real thing to start. Plato warned about this in his allegory of the cave, that most of us spend our lives staring at shadows, mistaking them for reality. We live in the reflection, never in the source. And then, when we're finally shown the truth, we're almost blinded by it. But here's the tragedy. Most people choose to go back to the shadows because they're more comfortable. You've done this. I've done this. We all have. The person speaking to you now, the one in heaven, sees it from the other side. They see how fragile this whole thing is. How one phone call, one doctor's report, one accident on a Tuesday afternoon can change everything forever. And they see how much of your life you are still holding back, still pretending, still postponing. They tell you the thing you don't want to admit, that you are not really living. You are performing. Performing for the expectations of others, for the safety of routine, for the illusion of control. And here's the twist. This is not about quitting your job, or selling everything you own, or moving to the mountains to live off the grid. That's another kind of performance. This is about something smaller and infinitely harder. It's about telling the truth. The truth about how you feel. The truth about what you want. The truth about what you're afraid of. Nietzsche said, the individual has always had a struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. The tribe doesn't have to be a literal village. It can be your family, your culture, your friend group, your social media following. It's the collective pressure to live by the script someone else wrote for you. And the voice from heaven, they are here to tear up that script. They remind you of the times you stayed silent when you should have spoken, and the times you spoke to impress instead of to connect. They remind you of the people you've loved, but kept at arm's length because loving them fully would make you too vulnerable. They remind you of the dreams you quietly buried because you convinced yourself it was too late. But here's the truth they press into your heart. It is never too late to live honestly. It is only too late when you stop trying. And they give you a warning. Not the kind that fills you with dread, but the kind that shakes you awake. They tell you there will be a moment, soon, when you will face a choice. You can continue living the way you've been, coasting, rehearsing, half asleep. Or you can turn toward the uncomfortable light of truth and take one small, terrifying, life-altering step. You might think this is just poetic language, but history is full of people who did exactly that and changed the world because of it. Dietrich Bonhoeffer stood against the Nazi regime when it cost him everything, because his conscience wouldn't let him stay silent. Socrates chose death over abandoning his search for truth, because he believed that the unexamined life is not worth living. And then there are the countless unnamed souls, mothers, fathers, friends, who risked their comfort, their safety, their reputations to do what they knew was right, even when no one was watching. You don't have to change the world, but you do have to change yours. 3 minutes. That's all the time you have right now before this moment fades, before the distractions come rushing back in. In 3 minutes, you could pick up the phone and call the person you've been avoiding. You could write the message you've been too scared to send. You could decide, truly decide, to stop performing and start living. And maybe, just maybe, this is why they're speaking to you now. Because they know something you don't. They know that when your time comes, the only thing you will take with you is the love you gave, the truth you lived, and the moments you chose to be fully awake instead of half alive. The clock is ticking. The voice is fading. You still have time, but not as much as you think. 3 minutes. What will you do with them?